Welcome to episode 1 of the Hartung Show. I'm back. If you know, you know. Today, on the first episode, we have Jesse Black,
What's up?
who released a new album a few months ago
Yep,
called Green-Eyed Stranger.
that's right.
And that's what we are here to discuss about today. So, Jesse, how have you been?
I've been doing good. Just staying busy and kind of slow winter, but we're back. Album's been doing good. Got the t-shirts out. At the time of recording, 2 extra larges, 2 larges left. So if you want this and you see it relatively quick, holler at me. So
Yeah,
yeah.
those shirts will definitely be gone at least 24 hours after the debut of this video, if I don't buy all of them myself.
Yeah.
Anyways, you released your third album in November.
Right.
It was Jesse Black Friday,
The Jesse Black Friday.
if I
Yep.
remember.
Yep. So Black Friday, I released my little EP thing back when I was like 19 on Jesse Black Friday. And so I feel like if I'm going to keep releasing stuff, that seems like a fun thing is like day after Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday, to start releasing stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't know, I feel like it could be fun. So
Yeah. that makes sense.
yeah.
It's definitely something you could, like, even if you don't release something, like, every year, you could still have, like, an event or something.
An
like, on
event or
Jesse
like
Black
maybe just
Friday.
like one-off song or music video, something. Yeah.
Yeah,
So could be fun.
definitely something for the fans to look forward to
Right.
each year, I feel like. But anyways, Green-Eyed Stranger, that's your third album.
Yeah.
And first in 5 years, I believe, since Wabi Sabi.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It had been a while. Yeah.
So, I'll let you talk about it. But I understand that you recorded it in a different way than you have done in the past. Is
Right.
that right?
That's right. So in the past, like the first album was me and Trey Binkley at my apartment on GarageBand. That one was real low budget, but I was 18, excited to get something out. B-sides was just me, also GarageBand, and just me at my apartment, and then I recorded the drums at my parents' house. And then Wabi Sabi was me, Trey Binkley, and Drake Freeman all recording whenever me and Trey lived together. And it was also just home studio, but we upgraded the Logic. And then that one was out forever. And then I met Danny whenever I started working at Home Depot during the pandemic. And whenever I kind of got back in the saddle, started doing shows again, everything else, I knew I needed to get something out. And it just took a while to record Green-Eyed Stranger, but that was on me and on Joe. And the timeline was long, but I'm really happy that we took our time with it because, you know, I feel like I had to rush everything else that I've ever released to a deadline. And this one, we were just like, finish the album, then start the rollout of everything. So it did take 5 years, and I wish it didn't take quite 5 years, but I'm also glad that we waited and everything worked out. So, but this one I recorded with Joe Tellmann. We did half of it at Diamond Sound Studios, I think that's the name of it, and then the other half of it was at Soft Junk whenever we moved his studio, like halfway through the project. So, but yeah, Joe produced it. Joe played a ton of the instruments on there, all the drums, all the bass, bunch of the guitars. Most of the acoustic stuff was me and a couple electric tracks, but a lot of that was Joe. And then I sang it, wrote it, all that good stuff. There was 2 songs that I wrote with Drake Freeman, one I wrote with Trey Binkley. So,
Gotcha.
but that was really good, and I'm happy with it. It's definitely like, I don't know, I kind of like the Beatles approach where you can tell where, you know, all the songs are written by the same group of people, but it was, you know, sounded completely different album to album. So I don't want to sound drastically different every time, but, you know, I do not want to be the guy that releases the same album 8 times. So, but now I'm really happy with it. And there are also some other people recording on the album, Wiley Bigger out of Memphis, and then Austin Roberts out of Nashville. So he did the pedal steel on it, Wiley did the piano. So
Gotcha.
it was a good time.
So,
And then
this,
Danny was yelling in the background a couple of beers too. We can't forget that. And Jack Tellman, Trey Binkley, all them. So
that was a fun day.
that was a fun day. Hopefully he throws some video of that in here.
I'm glad that I got to be a part of this album in a
It was
small
cool.
capacity. But, so this album was recorded, like, all analog?
It was, yeah. So Joe has like a 16-track tape. I should know the model and everything because I looked at it every day for 2 years, but I don't. Hit up Joe Tellman if you want to know more details about the specific equipment. But yeah, it was all tape. And so I'd never recorded anything like that before. Like I said, everything else I'd done was home studio stuff. Um, and so this was really cool, just like from, you get different results if you have different ways that you have to do things. And like some of the tape stuff, like it's not so easy to just take this guitar part and, oh, well, I like that, let's move it over here. Like you gotta record it where it is or it's not gonna happen. So yeah, I don't know, it was fun. And it's definitely got, like, you can hear it whenever you listen to it, like the vinyl sound, but I don't know, I'm just happy with it. So
Yeah, I mean, when I was there during one of the recording sessions for a couple of beers, it was like very cool to just be a part of it and also like see the process of that.
right,
Or,
yeah, like everything's spinning and all the
Yeah.
the little meters and everything else is cool.
And Joe is like constantly running back and forth because the way it's set up, we record at Soft Chunk, which is a music venue and studio in East Nashville, and basically like it's like an old garage, like mechanics garage or something.
Yeah, it's like definitely like an industrial kind of building. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we're like on the bottom floor. Me, Jesse, Jack Tellman, and Trey.
Trey,
Is that right?
yeah.
Trey Binkley. So it was like the four people downstairs, and then Joe is upstairs, like in the booth, and he's like running wires and microphones and everything, like literally like downstairs, and like all these different mics and stuff, and he would like come out like I don't know, a coach or something, and like from like the balcony and like tell us what to do and like shout like when we're recording and everything, and then he'd go and you'd see him like crazily like mix everything and just turn knobs and basically make four people sound like an entire bar room of people.
Yeah.
Which was a very cool thing to witness and like be a part of.
Yeah.
For sure.
Track 3 on the album, check it out. So, but yeah, you hear Danny right at the end, something about a football team.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, one of them, either Jack or Trey, was like, someone should boom Hauer.
Yeah, that was Trey. Yeah.
And so I took that to heart.
Yeah.
So, like at the end, because you have to listen to the song if you're like watching this part, just go listen to the song, please. But so you can understand. But essentially, like, couple of beers, the whole concept is getting drunk off a couple of beers.
Yeah.
And
very straightforward.
Yeah, and so it starts out just Jesse and his guitar, and then like it builds into like a more like parlor, like country kind of type of thing. There's like piano and drums and everything.
Real honky tonkin' thing, yeah.
Yeah, like a honky tonk and thing, and then as it goes on, like that's where everyone else, like everyone else's voices come in, which was just, four people that were like did so many takes to like make it feel like it's an entire bar singing along, and it's really, really fun. And then there were parts where Joe was like, just make noise, just like hoot and holler,
smack the table, clap.
Yeah, just make noise. And then Trey was like, someone should boom Hauer at the end. So there was like a time where like we were all like hooting and hollering, and then at the end I was like, man, fuck that college football game. Because I was drunk at that point, just coming up with something to say, and like, just to be like background noise in the song. But that's like, they put that like at the very end of the track when like the piano is settling down and the voices are like stopping. That's like when the one boom Hauer type of bit that I just came up with on the spot. That's like right at the end.
And we had to go through 2 cases of beer. You hear a bunch of cracks, and that's literally 2 cases of beer over the course of like, we'd crack one and have another one ready to go, crack one. And so after we got through like 2 takes of it, we started drinking them, and we were feeling great by the end of that little session. Yeah.
And a couple of beers, when you've been through it, man, that song's a documentary, okay? That song, that's a non-fiction song, all right? Because we were going through Rolling Rock and Yingling.
Yep, case of both.
Yeah, which is exactly what he sings about in the song. Like, all that was real. You can hear the beer cracks and everything like that, which we were constantly doing and stuff. I don't know. It was a whole thing. Joe Tellmann, great producer.
Oh, yeah.
Great coach. Just, like, telling, I don't know. He has a vision. but you and Joe had a vision
Oh yeah.
for the whole album, and it's just cool to see how, even though I was only there for like one session, see like your side of things, but also his side
Yeah.
of things, and like how he works and how you guys work together and everything like that. Um, yeah, so that was one of the sessions for that song. I understand that our friend Evan Gross,
Yep.
he
He kicked it off. He did the initial 2 beer cracks that you hear right at the top of the song. So
got you.
he's our official beer cracker. So
All right.
yeah.
Well, was there anything else that you want to talk about that particular song before we move on to some of the other tracks?
You talk about a couple of beers.
Yeah, a couple of beers.
I don't know that song. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of a documentary, and the way I wrote it was just like, you know, whenever me and Trey were living together, you know, the pandemic hit, and we just kind of locked inside for a little bit, and you know, every day I'd go get a beer, and I'd be like, want to get drunk off a couple of beers, and I kept saying it so much that I was like, all right, gotta write this. So
It was also great because you left to literally buy a pack of Gimlin and
oh
Rolling
yeah,
Rock.
like there's a gas station you can
Yeah.
walk to, the Z Mart right next to Soft Junk, and we walked over there, came back with a case of Rolling Rock, Casey Yingling.
Yeah,
So
so Joe and I were just like, just sitting on the porch and just small talking because this was like my first or second time meeting him.
yeah,
And then Jesse just goes on his little quest to get the beer for the recording session.
had to.
It was a fun day.
It was.
Anyways, let's move on to some of the other songs. I wanted to ask, before I share my opinion, I want to ask you what are like some of your favorite songs on the album?
Some of my favorites. Sugar was up there. I've always liked that one since I wrote it. Some Kind of Passion, I really like that one just for the way that it came together with all the production we put on it. Like, it's a very simple song, but then with the way that we did the recording, I think it really turned into something cool. Coffee Shop, that one, I was like, I like this song, but like, I don't know if other people are gonna really love this one. And like, that one gets requested at shows as much as anything.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and it turned out really cool, especially with Wiley's piano parts on it, and you know, I don't know, it was just, that was a fun one. And then Girls from Ohio, that's like one of my friends said that was like a redneck Disney Channel theme song because of the way it ends. So I really like that one. That was just, you know, fun to play. But Breathe was cool. I like a lot of the songs on the album. So
Yeah.
but if I had to pick like 2 favorites, I'd say probably Sugar and Some Kind of Passion.
Okay. Yeah, most of those songs that you mentioned are also like my favorite songs on the album.
Okay, cool, yeah.
I would definitely say, I mean, I'm biased, but a couple of beers.
Yeah,
It was great.
that's solid, yeah.
And then I think Sugar and Coffee Shop.
Okay,
those are
cool,
probably,
yeah.
Those are probably my 2 favorites.
Yeah.
And also like how they're just right next to each other on the album.
Right, yeah.
I think the last time I interviewed you, I could be wrong, but I think you played me a demo of Sugar.
Yeah,
Because
I think so,
I
yeah.
remember the guitar solo, and you were talking about how Slash
Yeah.
is an influence for you.
Or, well, I mean, it is for me. That's who made me want to start playing guitar when I was like 10. But definitely on Joe. Yeah, I remember he was big into Slash, especially whenever I first met him when I was like 15, 16.
So is Joe the one playing the guitar solo on
Yeah,
that
Joe
song?
plays that guitar solo. I did the guitar solo on a couple of beers, Killing Time, Charlotte Avenue. Might be it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So a lot of what I'm doing on there is like the rhythm track acoustic kind of thing. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, Sugar kind of, to me, that song feels like hair metal influenced country.
Yeah. Well, whenever you get me and Joe together, that's kind of what we wound up with. Because like I had more of like a country sound in mind, but I love the way that Joe's music has sounded. Like even from like Joe Tellmann band, what was his one in college, Typhoon. Like I've always been listening to stuff that Joe's been making, and so whenever we started talking about this album, he was like, you know, I'll produce it and like we'll, you know, kind of work together on it and all that kind of stuff. And I think it turned out really cool because like, I don't know, like the combination of like what I was going for and what Joe was going for, and like we compromised and made like one thing together. It was really cool the way it turned out because yeah, somebody else called it Foo Fighters country. So
Foo Fire country.
yeah, so I don't know, it was a really cool sound, but yeah, like what you're saying with the hair metal influenced country, I can see that too. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Each one of your albums shows massive growth, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like, cause like, going from Lane Switch to Wabi Sabi, and then how you were talking about the whole um, like electronic and synthetic kind
Yeah.
of backing tracks mixed with the real guitar
Yeah.
and vocals and bass and like all that kind of stuff. Like how you were able to like marry that was very creative.
Thank you.
It's something I haven't really seen in many artists, but also just a huge step up from Lane Switch.
Yeah.
And then I feel like this album was also a huge step up from Wabi Sabi, but you have this good way of reinventing yourself
Thank
like
you.
all the time, because this one was all analog.
Mm-hmm.
Just just takes after takes, just analog, um, just real instrumentation, everything like that.
Yeah.
Not computers involved in any way.
Yeah, until we digitalized it for Spotify, there was nothing. Yeah.
You can't get around that though.
Yeah.
But I don't know, yeah, you always reinvent yourself, which is always interesting. That's why I'm always excited when you put out something new.
Thank you. Yeah, well, the next one's going to be completely different too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole, just with art in general, whether it's movies or music or anything, where it's a great, an artist could put out their masterpiece or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
their best work, right? And then that's the one that is a synonym for their name even.
Yeah.
So examples: Pulp Fiction for Tarantino.
Yeah.
AM for Arctic Monkeys.
Yep.
Ziggy Stardust for David Bowie.
Right.
Things like that. And once you do that, there's two routes you can go. One, you can try to top it, right? And second, you cannot try to top it. And I'll go more into that. So basically, when you try to top it, you try to do the same thing, but a little bit different. Or you try to expand on the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So an example would be David Bowie's Aladdin Sane came out after Ziggy Stardust. And I feel like that he's kind of trying to top Ziggy Stardust. And it's a really good album. But it's definitely the same sound and era
Mm-hmm.
of his work, I would say. And then another route you can go is Arctic Monkeys, when they put out Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino 5 years after AM. Those two albums don't sound alike at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were trying to top AM or trying to, I just don't think they were concerned with trying to mimic the success or
Right.
any of the magic of AM. They just made new magic essentially, and they went in a completely different direction with Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. And that album just sounds completely different, and that one is a concept album.
Right.
But the whole point is they just reinvented themselves, and they were kind of low key about it. They didn't say any. They didn't even really mention AM or anything. They time has passed. This is the new album.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna sound like that forever. I mean, they released another album after that one, The Car, which kind of sounds more just 70s rock.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a departure from Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. Anyways, this is a really long ramble to kind of just prove my point that when you're constantly reinventing yourself, and it doesn't really seem like you're trying to top the last album. I mean, obviously you won't want each album to be better, but you are going about it in different approaches.
Yeah, it's not like I'm trying to make the same album again but better.
Yeah.
It's I just, I don't know. The way I look at it, it's some people who's a good band? I'll use the Beatles again, but if you really like some of the early Beatles stuff, whenever it was real simple, poppy, short songs, some people gravitate more towards that. Some people gravitate more towards the middle with Rubber Soul Revolver, and then some people only like the Abbey Road stuff and Let It Be. You know what I mean? And it's if you like one era of it more than another era, that's always going to be there. You can always go back and listen to it. So some people that like the new album didn't really like Wabi Sabi, and some people that loved Wabi Sabi are oh, well, you completely changed up your sound on it. And it's I don't know. That's where I was at. Every album that I've released, I just write about whatever was happening in my life at that time. And so to me, it's I feel like I would be really unauthentic to try and make another Wabi Sabi, because it's I'm not listening to the same stuff that I used to. I'm not living through the same stuff that I used to. And like, it'd be the same thing if I tried to make another Green-Eyed Stranger. It's just, that was that time period when I was writing everything. And then now I'm here. And so the new album is going to be, what's going on in my life right now. And so, and I think the music will reflect that, the new influences, the new styles I've been playing, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, here's a screenshot of my life every couple of years is kind of the way I want to do this. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. But still, I hope you can tell it's like all me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That way it's like, I don't know, kind of like the Beatles. So, but.
So, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but do you, like, what's kind of in mind for the next album, or like?
Okay, yeah.
What's your approach with it?
Basically, I've been getting a lot more into like traditional music, like bluegrass, classic country, my roots from a long time ago in blues, all that kind of stuff. And so, I don't know, I want to make, because a lot of my live shows are acoustic, and they pretty much always have been since I was like 15. So, I want to make something that's more reflective of like what you're going to hear if you do come out and see me. Because like whenever I released Wabi Sabi, if you were at my live shows, I was playing CCR. You know what I mean? And then like, with all this new album, like Sugar, whenever you hear me play that live, it's acoustic. Because I play with a band a couple times a year. It's, not what I normally do whenever I'm out playing shows. And so, I don't know, especially with the way that I've been getting more into bluegrass music and all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking this new album, I kind of want to do a lot more acoustic feeling stuff. I definitely want to do like stand-up bass, me doing both acoustic guitars, one rhythm part, one lead part. The songwriting, like, I feel like a lot of the last couple albums were like a lot more emotional music, and I feel like the stuff that I've been writing lately is like a lot more storytelling, or like, just describing a day, or like things like that. And so the songwriting's going to be a little bit more in that kind of vein. And it's going to have like a lot more of an acoustic, bluegrassy country, that kind of sound. I'm not ruling out any drums or any electric guitars or anything like that, but it's going to be a lot more, less rock, a lot more country, bluegrass, Americana, traditional kind of stuff. So I'm kind of excited for that. There's a John Prine album where he kind of like got a studio band and did a bunch of the songs that were just kind of singer-songwriter songs, and I'm kind of thinking like a more bluegrassy version of that. So,
Gotcha.
That's what I'm thinking for the new album, but you may watch this and I may completely change my mind by the time I release it. I don't know. But that's what's been in my head for at least about 6 months to a year now. So
Gotcha.
Basically since I released Green-Eyed Stranger. So
Gotcha. Do you think the recording process will be like the same with
now,
analog, or?
That I don't know. I'm not ruling that out because I did like working with Joe. But I kind of want to, the same way that I didn't make any release plans until I had the album finished, and I didn't, get into any of that until it was like pretty clear what it was going to be. I don't think I'm going to choose how I'm going to record it until I, the picture that I released with the artwork, whenever I released Green-Eyed Stranger, was a bunch of pieces of paper. And I literally sat in my room one day and I rearranged the pieces of paper, and I had like 20 pieces of paper, and I was like, well, this would be a cool album, but what if I took these songs out and put these songs in, and I just kept little pieces of paper that I just wrote song titles on. I just kept rearranging them, and finally I got them in order, and I was like, that'd be pretty good. I think that's an album. So I just took a picture of it, and the picture that I took of it is literally the track list on the back of the album of me being like, that's the album. So I don't know. So I think once I know what songs I want, order, I've kind of got the picture in my head, I'll start steering myself in the direction of how I'm going to record it. But not against analog, especially with the fact that I want this to be kind of more traditional sounding. So, but we'll just have to see.
Gotcha.
And then also, like, a lot of what's made some of my albums different than others is who was, playing on it with me. So I haven't decided that yet. I've been meeting a bunch of cool friends in the bluegrass community that would be sweet for some session work. And I don't know. I just, I feel like that's a bridge I got to cross when I get there. But definitely have an idea for the sound, just not so much the recording process.
Gotcha. So, you had some friends play on this album and stuff like that, so you kind of had like session musicians on it.
Yeah.
So the previous two albums, was that mostly just you, or
Um,
how did that go?
I'd say the first album, Lane Switch,
Mm-hmm.
was like mainly me, but Trey played some of the stuff on it.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to think about what it was. It's been so long. I know he definitely played at some of the bass tracks. He
Gotcha.
played probably some electric guitar parts, but I kind of remember recording a lot of that stuff too. That one's a little bit foggy. That was, God, 9 years ago when I recorded that.
Yeah.
And
Long
then
time.
B-Sides, which was the only EP I've ever released,
Mm-hmm.
that one was 100% me. There wasn't a knob turned, nothing that wasn't me. I still like that one for what it is. And then Wabi Sabi, that one was a mixture of me, Trey Binkley, and Drake Freeman. And I wrote at least half of that album with one of the two of them, if not both of them. And so I remember Drake playing some guitar parts on that. I remember Trey playing the solo to Back on the Pavement. I think
Okay.
that was the name of that one. It was the single off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, no, High Back on the Pavement in the little thing. But no, I played a lot more stuff on Wabi Sabi than I played on this album. But yeah, a lot of this album was just, Joe and session guys and me and everything else. It depends on the song, because some of the songs, like Some Kind of Passion, all the guitar you hear is me.
Mm-hmm.
But then, on a song like Killing Time, like you hear my acoustic track and my solo, but that's pretty much it.
Gotcha.
So I don't know, but like I kind of had fun taking a back seat to, playing everything on it and kind of letting Joe doing a lot more of the producing on it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of why it's like it's the songs that I wrote, but like with Joe playing a bunch of the instruments on it, that's kind of how it turned into that hair metal country, Foo Fighters country, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. So, but I don't know, and that's why I want to do completely different stuff this next time. Is like I feel like if you put all the same inputs into something, you're going to wind up with a similar output. And so, I don't know. I just want to keep changing it up and, like I said, not make the same album 8 times. So,
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the live shows. Are you still like traveling state to state doing the acoustic
oh yeah.
stuff?
So, I don't know. It depends on the month.
Mm-hmm.
Some months I'm a lot more local to Tennessee. Like a lot of the stuff that I'm playing is like Southeast Tennessee, like Chattanooga area where I grew up. But I'm also playing Cookeville area, Jackson, Tennessee, all that kind of stuff. But I was at the beach about a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
Gulf Shores area, playing down there. Yeah, I'll go to South Dakota a couple times this year. Like tomorrow I leave to go to Merle Fest with Gallagher. I've been doing a bunch of events with them lately. That's a guitar company. You ought to look them up. My favorite guitar player played one of their guitars, Doc Watson. And I'm fortunate enough to be one of their featured artists. So we're having fun with that, and it's fun going and promoting them at events everywhere. And
Do you want to talk more about that? I saw like an Instagram post about that.
yeah.
I was gonna ask you about that, but I forgot. So thank God that you brought it up.
But which part, Gallagher or Merle Fest or
Gallagher?
Gallagher?
Guitars. How's that
So
been?
that's been great. Like basically, like I said, my favorite guitar player ever is Doc Watson. And so I knew that he played a Gallagher guitar, but I'd never played one, never seen one, nothing. And then I had a show in Murfreesboro where they ended up moving their shop to in 2020. And I saw just the Gallagher G, like their logo, hanging up, and I thought it was a music shop. And so I went knocking on the door, and they were like, "Do you have an appointment?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what's going on." So they let me in. They did like a little tour, and then I got talking to him, and I was like, because I play acoustic primarily, and so I really need 3 of them. I need one, a backup, and then if one of them's getting worked on, I still need a backup. So I knew that I was looking for a 3rd acoustic guitar, and so got talking to him, everything else, and just ended up hitting it off with the coworkers, the owner David, and I'm very fortunate that they kind of took me under their wing and they're promoting me, and I'm helping promote them, and it's just a great thing. I love working with them, and if I could have picked, a guitar company to be like, it'd be really cool if I got to work with them, they would have been it, and I just happened to run into them one day taking a wrong turn to my show. So, but we're going to Merle Fest this week. By the time you post this, I'll probably be home from it, but it's a festival honoring Doc's son, Merle Watson, out in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And basically, there's just a big expo tent, from what I understand. I haven't been yet. And I guess I'm going to be hanging out under there and talking to people and showing off the guitars and maybe getting into a little bit of jamming in the evenings, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be pretty fun. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's been fun working with him, and I play a G50. Come to a show and hear it in person. So, and it'll be recorded on the next album for sure. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, but you still use Gallagher for this album, or did you use different?
Well, I
equipment?
got the Gallagher. The
During-
only
okay.
thing that I got to record the Gallagher on was the solo for Couple of Beers.
Okay.
So I got it last April, and we were pretty much done with guitar tracks. But it did make it on the album for that one solo. So,
Okay.
but this next album will definitely have it all over it. So,
Gotcha.
but
What kind of guitars did you use on the album?
it's tough to remember. Whatever we had around was pretty common.
Fair.
I think, so Joe used to have this Martin. He ended up selling it. I know that we use that on some of the acoustic tracks that you hear a little bit more. But I have a Gibson LGO from the late 60s or early 60s, something like that. And whenever you record an acoustic guitar with a band, it doesn't have to be super high fidelity if you're going to cut a bunch of the EQ out of it anyway. And so that one's just kind of a little parlor body style guitar. And so I definitely recorded a bunch of the rhythm tracks with that. He also had this little Yamaha guitar that I know we recorded at least a couple tracks with. And then the electrics, Joe has I think it's a gold top Les Paul. I'm not huge on knowing the exact specifics of every instrument.
Gotcha. I mean,
But
it's fair.
yeah, I know we used that. I know we used his Telecaster before he also sold that one. I think we used the Strat on a couple tracks, maybe not. That one was my guitar. And then used my Les Paul Special on a couple tracks. And then we also used a baritone guitar on Miss Cocaine and maybe Some Kind of Passion. But I do remember Some Kind of Passion was recorded with that Martin of Joe's. So anything where you can really hear the acoustic guitar is probably that Martin. Anything where you can barely hear it is probably that LGO or the Yamaha. So,
Gotcha.
but
Sick.
yeah. So, and then my bass was all the bass parts. So
Okay.
got a 5-string Coleman bass. So, and then Joe's drum kit was all of the drums. So.
Okay. So, okay, the Coleman bass, what is it like? What would you compare it to? Like P bass, Rick, J?
I know it's
Jazz
got
bass?
active pickups. I also don't know that much about basses. I got it at an AM show. The guy builds them. I want to say he's out of Virginia. Could have that completely wrong, but it's like one guy that builds these, and it's just like a really pretty, like all wood kind of bass, and it just sounds really good. Like I don't know enough about basses. I barely play one to know what makes it good, but I know that my buddies that play bass like playing on it. So
Nice. That's good.
Joe borrows it all the time to record stuff over there. So
Okay.
yeah, but Coleman, Kohlman, I believe.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah,
You said you've been to NAMM?
yeah, a couple times. It's been, well, I mean, they haven't even had it in Nashville for a few years, but
I want to go to NAMM at some point.
yeah, I've never been to the California one, like the actual huge one. But the summer NAMM that they had in Nashville for a couple years, I probably went 3 times as an artist, and then like once or twice for the open day. So,
Gotcha.
but it was pretty fun. Got some cool stuff there. Got my classical guitar there. That classical guitar made it on the album. That one, I don't remember what the brand name is. I think it starts with a D or something, but it's a Russian brand. And there was this guy from Russia at NAMM, and he was like, I don't want to put this back on the plane to Russia. I'll give it to you for like half price. And I was like,
Nice.
okay. And so I have a Russian classical guitar because of that, and that thing's pretty sweet. But that was on Charlotte Avenue that I played that on.
Okay.
So
Sick.
forgot I left that one out.
Yeah.
But
I need a nylon string.
they're so fun, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
Because I played one a couple of times, and I'm like, this is like a completely different sound than other, like a more, well, I guess it came first, but than other acoustic guitars and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And it's like, I need one of those.
you can't really get that Willie Nelson, the classical, I think Marty Robbins had a couple songs with it on it. And Jerry Reed definitely has some cool videos of him playing the classical guitar. There's uses for it outside of classical music that are really cool.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay, so back to like the shows
Yeah.
Like, what's some of your favorite like venues or towns to play in?
Ooh. I don't get over there much, but one of my favorite places to play is Charleston, West Virginia. The couple shows I've done over there are really cool. For like venues that I play on like a pretty regular basis, Sequatchie Valley Brewing is awesome. That's like, I don't know, a bunch of people come out to that one that know me. That one's great. I like playing at Hank's Honky Tonk down there in Murfreesboro. I do play like a lot of bars as like 90% of my shows. And I enjoy it, honestly. I like being able to talk to people after it's done. Um, I like the atmosphere in there. I like the small venue kind of feel for it. And then, I do some festival shows in the summer. Like a lot of town festivals, that kind of thing. And then, I don't know, just kind of here, there, and everywhere. I like playing down in the Gulf. I like playing up around Cincinnati area of Ohio. Smiling Skull Saloon up in Athens. That's another really, really cool place, Athens, Ohio. White Street Brewing out in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Like going over there. Cannon Club in Murphy, North Carolina. 37-seater in Cookville is definitely my favorite place to eat.
Okay.
And I play there too. They got like a little bar and scratch kitchen, and that's a cool little Thursday night spot if you're in Cookville. I play there at least every other month-ish. Trying to think. I don't know. There's a bunch of cool places I like playing at, but if you go on my website, any of the ones I play at a lot, I like pretty good. So yeah.
When was the last time you played one in town, like in Nashville?
In Nashville, probably Pigs Fly Halloween show last year. It's a venue like it's just south of where Old Hickory and Nolensville Road are, where they intersect. And it's like an outdoor venue. It looks like a outdoor HGTV set. Like they got all these like fire pits and like a little creek running through it, and it's like just a really nice stage and a really pretty outdoor venue. It's bring your own beer. Everybody loves that. They got a little food truck. I don't play in town that much. I just, I can travel and get a higher base pay, and I like that a lot better. And then also I don't like playing at touristy places. It's just like a personal preference kind of deal, but like, I don't know. I play like a very specific set of music whenever I do my acoustic shows, and it's basically just like what I like to listen to is what I play. And so like it's kind of diverse. I play classic rock, I play blues, I play classic country, play a little bit of newer country, but like most of it's like Tyler Childers kind of stuff. Play bluegrass songs thrown in there, and then there'll be random Pink Floyd cover or Rolling Stones or something like that. And I play what I like to listen to, and it winds up being pretty diverse. And I feel like every time I've ever played a touristy area, they're like real mad when you don't know Morgan Wallen's song, or they're like, you don't know this real specific Garth Brooks song, everybody knows it, or it's
Makes
or
sense.
play Mr. Brightside. And I'm like, this is an acoustic guitar. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's
Coming out of my cage.
yeah. So it's fun, but anytime I get around a touristy area, I feel like they want to hear what they want to hear instead of they're just appreciating what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So I don't like getting told what to do.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's less respect for the artists in front of them, and more.
Yeah,
more there to party.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm not a huge big party guy. I don't know. Just me. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Do you think you'll play like a full band show, or like maybe like a at least rock show or something like that?
A rock show would be fun, but I see if I'm playing with a band, I see it more being like me, stand-up bass player, and like an auxiliary guy that can do another acoustic, mandolin, fiddle, pedal steel, something like that, or telly, you know. But no, I see me playing with a band is something that I definitely want to start doing more, especially, a couple times a year around town, that kind of thing. But I see the lineup of instruments not necessarily being rock. But there are a few events that I'm doing this year where I'll probably be playing like blues with a band, Pine Top Perkins Workshop down in Clarksdale. If I end up booking any festival-related things through those connections, I'll probably be with the band playing electric. So it's just something I've lost interest in since I've been, because like I said a little bit earlier in this interview, like the person that made me want to start playing guitar was Slash. Like I heard I had Appetite for Destruction plugged into my bedroom CD player, and Sweet Child of Mine, Come On, or I think that's the first track on the album. Whatever the first track on the album is, I heard the guitar and I was like, man, I kind of want to do that.
Yeah.
And I started off playing classic rock, and then moved to blues, and then moved from blues to country, and then from country to bluegrass, and then it's just been a little bit of everything the whole time. But
Gotcha.
the whole rock band thing, like I like the idea of it, but I'm more into other stuff now. So yeah.
Yeah. Were you ever in a band like a?
Not like a locked in members
Okay.
band kind of thing. Especially like back when I was in high school, I was playing a lot more like blues related events. And so I was playing with a band a lot, but it was always just whoever's on stage with me.
So it was still like Jesse Black. It wasn't like.
Yeah, it wasn't like
it wasn't this band
or
you
anything.
remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
not that I've ever been against that. It's just I have been doing this to pay bills for a long time. And you make more money with the scale of an artist that I am playing acoustic shows.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Smart business decisions.
Yeah,
From
something
Mr.
like
Black
that.
over here. Okay, so me personally, I've been experimenting with alternate tuning. As of late, I've been experimenting with alternate tunings on guitar. Have you done that in your music, or is that something you've explored?
Yeah, so whenever I first wrote Some Kind of Passion, I had it in drop D. And then I have a drop D capo, which basically just, if you capo it 2 frets up from wherever you're at, it has the lowest string, for D shapes be a D no matter wherever you capo it.
Yeah.
And then you can still play, because it's not detuned, it's just a different capo adjustment. You can still play a G shape instead of the drop D G shape. So I've done that. Whenever I was younger, I did write a couple songs in alternate tunings that I never recorded. And then I messed around a little bit with like the bluesy kind of, I heard it called Bastard G by Doug McLeod. And basically you turn the A string to a G and the E string to a D. And so you can kind of do like a root fifth kind of thing with the 5th and the 4th string. And then if you get down to the 6th string, it's also a D like the 4th string. And so you can play pretty cool stuff in that.
Bastard G, I'm gonna.
You gotta look into that.
Try that one next.
So
that sounds fun.
Yeah, I've done some open D, open G slide stuff a long time ago, but yeah, lately it's been pretty much standard tuning. Or whenever I play live, I do play half step down. That's like my go-to tuning. But anytime I get around other musicians, I have to tune everything up a half step and remember how to sing everything a half step higher, and that can cause problems. So. But
right. Anyways, what do you want to talk about? We can talk about anything.
Talk about anything?
Yeah.
I don't know. Looking forward to the new album. Still kind of in the writing process of that. I've got enough songs to do it, but I kind of want to make this one really solid. I'd rather have 30 songs and pick my favorite 10 than write 10 songs and record them. So.
Is that what you did with all the previous albums?
It depends. Like Lane Switch, that was pretty much everything I had. And then B-sides, I wrote all those songs. They kind of went together. And so I just recorded them, and I was like, well, I could write more, but I'm fine with just putting out 6 songs. And then Wabi Sabi, I think there was at least 3 or 4 that didn't make the cut for that one. But that was still pretty much everything I had. And then this one, I definitely had like 15, 20 songs and cut them down to like 12. Okay. 15 or 20 that I liked anyway. I had more than that, but out of what was being considered for it, that's what made it. So
yeah, do you think we'll see some of those other songs at some point?
At some point, maybe. Because like my goal is to have a catalog of like, a couple hundred, and be able to be like, these 15 make sense together. Let's pick the best 10 of these. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so there's definitely plenty of stuff that I've written that I don't necessarily plan on recording, but maybe eventually, or like, I don't know. I thought it would be cool, not anytime soon, but just down the road, having an album of songs that didn't quite make the cut that I've edited a little bit to, kind of be like that. And so it'd be a couple songs that are recorded like Wabi Sabi that didn't make the album. A couple songs recorded by Green Eyed Stranger that didn't make the album, and just like,
That'd be cool.
here's the stuff you missed.
Like an experimental.
Yeah, just
album.
like a random cuts kind of thing. So
that's cool.
But
will the album cover be you like cutting something in your kitchen?
It could be. I also thought it could be cool to like just take like, you know, if I've released 8 albums by that point, take like, you know, a little square out of each of them, and then be like, this is all the stuff you missed from all these albums.
I feel like you could pull off a One Wayne G, like a Mac DeMarco.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like you could definitely put out like a.
Is that album that he just had like the date he recorded it and no song titles, and it was just, God, I made it like a third of the way through the album, and I was like,
yeah,
need a break. I finally listened to it in like, you know, over the course of like a month in chunks. But yeah,
that album's, I'm glad it exists, I'll say that. But like,
yeah,
because there's like so many like interviews and pieces of content with him where he's like, you know, showing what he considers garbage.
Yeah.
And then like people in the comments are like, this is the best elevator music I've ever seen. You need to put it out. And that's why he put out One Wayne G, was that people just wanted to, they wanted
to hear all the demos, yeah.
Yeah. So and he always puts out a demo album for every album.
Right,
as well. So I don't know. It made sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's something that more artists should do at some point.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that idea.
More music, as long as you know, tell the audience what it is, you know?
Yeah, don't just, here's my new album, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what he did with that. He just posted it.
Yeah. But, I don't know. He's a troll in some things, but I don't know. I think
I like Mac DeMarco.
Yeah, he's great though, but if you just like say what it is and then put something out like that, just for any artist watching this, I think that's like a good idea. At least more music is a good thing.
I think so. I'm very big on that instead of just, you know, only releasing your best stuff every 10 years or something. So, I don't know. But I also want to do an acoustic album, like just me and like no takes, no nothing. It's just like, here's me and an acoustic guitar doing a bunch of the songs from the whole time. So, a bunch of people that come out to the live shows are like, you know, I like you with the band, but like, I want to be able to listen to what I'm hearing right now. So, that's in the works too, but I wouldn't call that my next album. That'll just be like an acoustic album I'll do at some point.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah.
Would you ever do a live album?
I would do a live album. In fact, if I did one, I would hope I could do it at Soft Junk, so that way Joe can just run everything into the board and do all that kind of stuff.
That'd be awesome.
It would be pretty great. So yes, that is absolutely a consideration. I just don't have any plan for it at the moment. But very open to that idea, and would definitely have to string together the right group of people to play on it too. So, but yeah.
So another thing I thought of, so Green Eyed Stranger, you recorded analog. Mm-hmm. Is there any mistakes that you guys left in? Like,
oh yeah, in Sugar you can hear it whenever it's like right in the beginning. I don't remember exactly where it is, but the first like pedal steel part comes in, and you hear in the background, you hear, that's perfect. And that's Joe talking to Austin while we were recording, and you know, we'd done a couple takes, and like, you know, because Austin hadn't really heard the song before, and so he came in there and he's trying out some stuff, and we do a take, no, maybe not like that, do another one, no, maybe not like that, and then we get to like the third one or whatever, and Joe's like, that's perfect. But it was perfect, and so we were like, yeah, we're just gonna leave that in there, and it's a little, what do they call that? Easter egg?
Yeah.
A little Easter egg in the album. And then I'm sure, because if you would have asked me like the day it was released, I would have remembered every little imperfection in it, but now it's been long enough to where, you know, I'm sure there's some mistakes blended in there, but I don't remember exactly where they're at. But Joe might remember them a little bit better, because he was the one that was mixing it and doing all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Joe might be like, yeah, this one snare is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, but then these are great. I don't know. But that's the one that really pokes out to me, because that's the one that I hear every time and laugh at. So, yeah. But I like it being in there. I don't like perfect music that feels like it's produced, you know, at 1,000% and everything else.
Right.
At least not for the genre of music that I try and make. So.
All right. Let's talk about the album cover, which I'll put up for the
Yeah.
people watching the video. But the Green-Eyed Stranger album cover, what's
Mm-hmm.
the story behind that?
Do you know the story behind that?
No.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you're getting to hear this for the
Okay.
first time too.
Sick.
So me and Joe were working on his Jeep. If you know Joe, he's had like so many cars, and we're always working on Joe's cars. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had this Jeep, and I think we were doing like the brakes on it or something. But basically, this thing, we lived in a house together, like on the south side of Franklin, kind of not really around stuff, and we had the whole Jeep up on jacks, and we were doing the brakes on it. And his, you know, the back of his car is open because his toolbox is back there, and the hood's up because we were looking at something in there too.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hood was up. It may not have been, but anyway, car is being worked on, right? And so I see something driving down the hill. There's a big hill that came down to the house, and it has like this big pole on top of it. And I'm staring at it, and Joe's like messing with the brakes, and I was like, Joe, look at this van. And he looks at it, and he's like, what is that? And it comes out like kind of behind the tree line, and I see Google like written all down the side of it. And I was like, is that the Google Street View thing? And so we start waving at it, and you know, we're like, oh, that's cool. I guess that's gonna be on Google Maps at some point. And so we ended up getting it later, but yeah, it caught me perfectly. Just like I had like a glove in my hand, I'm like holding up a glove for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it like blurred out our faces, and I was like, that
So
looks
just-
kind of artistic. So screen capped it
That's fun.
and edited it and everything else. So worked out pretty good. But yeah, so that's legitimately the Google Street View. I think it's changed now because it's been
Yeah, but at least
few years,
At least
but-
you got it.
well,
So
and I
got
think you
that
can do
moment in
the
time.
time switch on Google Maps, and so you can like see what it looked like. So I guess that would have been 2022, maybe 2023, somewhere in there. You can look up on Google Maps, and I probably shouldn't give out the address, but it's
Yeah.
south side of Franklin. Go on a little treasure hunt for it. So,
Gotcha.
but anyway, but
That's
yeah,
fun though.
yeah. So that's Google Street View, and they caught us in the moment of working on the car. So,
Mhm. And then profit.
yeah, profit. Yeah.
What's the story behind the title, Green-Eyed Stranger?
So, like I said, like I started off playing classic rock, and then I got like more into blues stuff, and then I got into country. Well, like whenever I was in that classic rock blues, playing like a lot of that kind of stuff, every time I went to a blues event, everybody's like, "You sound like country blues," and I guess it's just because of where I'm from and everything. And so like I listened to country music because I was around it so much as a kid, but it was never like if I was listening to music what I was playing. It was just like I heard it, Mom loved it, Dad liked some of it. Being in Jasper, Tennessee, you hear a lot of country music, but it was never like my favorite genre of music until I was 19 and I got a record player, and Mom gave me a ton of her vinyls, and one of them was Redheaded Stranger by Willie Nelson. And if you've ever seen the album art, you should throw that on there for the people watching too. It's just like a really, really cool looking album cover. And so I pulled it out, and I woke up early one morning. I listened to Rodeo by Travis Scott all the way through. And then I was like, what am I listening to next? And I picked up Redheaded Stranger by Willie Nelson.
The perfect combo.
The perfect combo. And so, yeah, so like I was literally just drinking coffee and put that album on, and I was like, this is kind of awesome. Because I've always loved concept albums, and this was kind of the same thing. I didn't know until like after I decided to name the album Green-Eyed Stranger, which I'm getting to here in a second, but that was for a movie. Like, I don't know if the album specifically was for a movie, but they did a movie where Willie Nelson is in a Western, and he's like the main character, and it's like the whole soundtrack. And like, it's not like a concept album in the way that like it's telling a story across the whole thing, but it is a concept album, and like it sounds like this is all one very intentional body of work of these collection of songs. And like a lot of it is covers, but it's Willie Nelson just being Willie Nelson in his prime, and it's so good. Like just the way everything sounds, and like if you listen to it with headphones on, which I wasn't the first time, but it was like the first time I ever listened to country music, and I was like, man, this is cool. Like this is something I could get into and learn how to play and like start writing like, and I can see myself like actually wanting to play this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it was basically like the album that like, not that I didn't like some country songs, not that I didn't play some country songs at shows. It was just like, that was whenever I was like, maybe I should start getting into country music. And I think I was 19. If I wasn't 19, I was 20, but I'm pretty sure I was 19. And so, anyway, this was the first album, like, because you listen to Lane Switch, you listen to B-Sides, you listen to Wabi Sabi. This is the first album that has, like, really any kind of country influence. And so I was like, maybe I'll name it after, like, what got me into it. And so I don't have red hair, but I do have green eyes. And so if you've only listened to my music and you don't know me, this is the green-eyed stranger. This is, like, something new, something that, Anyway, but that's where I got the idea from, was to kind of pay respect to what got me into the genre. So
Nice.
But yeah, that's pretty much been my main thing since I was 22. And then really in the last year, I've really got more into bluegrass. So, but I don't know. I see myself eventually being somewhere in the what they call Americana now, which is, to me, is just like country music. That kind of umbrella. That, bluegrass, Americana, country. That's kind of where I see myself falling into, singer-songwriter, that kind of thing. But still want everything to sound a little different. But we'll see. I'm not against doing a blues album at some point, not against doing a rock album at some point. Well, I kind of did that with the last one, but just, I don't know. Doing what feels right at the moment is what I plan on doing for the rest of it. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good mindset to have.
Right?
For musicians, I feel like listen, everyone has ADHD these days. You don't gotta you don't gotta put yourself in a box. You don't gotta be like, we're an indie rock band and then
And
the
that's
only
all we
thing
make.
you put out is indie rock. Like, you can experiment within your genre. Like within the subgenres, you can experiment to completely different genres. Like, just as long as it's honest.
Yeah, exactly. Like if
it's
you're
fine.
feeling it, do it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're feeling
Authentic.
it, do it. Have you played on other people's things, like any session work, or
Well,
do you want to talk about that?
yeah, talking about the guy that played piano on my album, Wiley Bigger, out of Memphis. I played the electric guitar on his first EP. Outside of that, I haven't done a ton of session work, but that's mainly my one claim to fame is doing the guitar on that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But I also haven't searched it out really, so that doesn't help anything. But no, most of the time I'm not doing that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. Gotcha. What about like co-writing or anything like that?
I do quite a bit of co-writing. Like some of the people I mentioned that wrote on my previous albums, Drake and Trey, I probably co-wrote with the most. Been writing with this guy, Andrew Applegate. He's got really cool music. Trying to think of who else. I mean, I don't co-write with a ton of people. That's pretty much it. Me and Joe have tried to write a few things. I don't think we've ever finished one, but I don't know. I guess it's something that I do somewhat often with a few people, but not like with a huge network of people or anything. So.
Gotcha. Well, I do have one more question for you before we end off the debut episode.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for musicians out there?
Yes. That's a pretty broad question, though. I would say, like, the number one thing to keep in mind is just meet everybody you can and look for the next step. Don't look for the thing that's going to rocket you to the top. Like, you got to kind of grow everything like this. I mean, I'm not saying that there's nobody that's ever made it by doing one thing and then they're way up there. But, like, for the most part, you got to, like, try and do a few things better than you did last year. And don't expect things to change wildly overnight, especially if you're not putting in the work. So basically just staying at it, making sure that you're better than you were yesterday, a month ago, 2 years ago, all that kind of thing. Trying to improve yourself, trying to meet more people, trying to, just go that little extra step and be better than you used to be. And don't expect things to happen overnight. That's the biggest thing. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, sick. Thank you all for tuning in to the debut episode of the Hartung Show.
Hartung Show.
Thank you to Jesse Black for being the first guest.
It was fun. Yeah,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Links to his music and everything will be down in the description. If you like this new show, then or this episode, then share with some friends and check out Jesse Black, Green-Eyed Stranger, and his previous albums. And maybe if you're in the area, check him out at a show.
Yeah.
So links to his music and his website and everything like that will be down.
Website's got the show schedule.
Yeah, will be down in the description. So, thank y'all for tuning in to the first episode. And the camera died. Peace.